Namo Krishna 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 Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Devi Shresha Shri Paschati Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Vedanta Shri Vasari Gauravani Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I like to share a short thought. It's from Satyanandana Swami. He wrote it during the Kartik time, and I thought it's very nice to hear maybe for this kirtan session. The art of singing Krishna's holy name in kirtan is perhaps the most efficient sadhana that purifies our heart, brings us closer to Krishna, and helps us to develop attachment for Him. First, tell yourself that this is now your time with Krishna. Set an intention to be present. Second, focus your attention on the one for whom you are singing and sing in a prayerful way. And third, avoid dry mechanical recitations and singing by focusing on the Lord and singing with the attempt to please Him, to come closer to Him and to feel His presence in your life. Maybe you can take one of these intentions for the singing now.
Hare Krishna. Warm welcome to our Sunday program. Herzlich willkommen zu unserem Sonntagsfest. Gibt es jemand, der kein Englisch versteht? No English. You understand English, right? Yeah. So we can conduct our program in English as usual. Thank you for the kirtan. Hare Krishna. Anyone here for the first time? Okay. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We have our Sunday program every week for the past 40 years or so. And we're always happy to have newcomers. Almost every week we have newcomers, and it's very special for us. This is a nice program for newcomers to get some introduction. I'm sure you know Krishna consciousness, but not in this temple, yeah. Now we're going to have a lecture, and we are very happy to have with us His Grace Kishore Gopal Prabhu. Please, you can take a seat. Give a small introduction. Kishore Gopal Prabhu is from the US. He lives in Alachua, and he will be staying with us for 3 months. He grew up in Krishna consciousness. His parents also initiated devotees, disciples of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, and he basically grew up in Gitanagari, which is one of the oldest projects in ISKCON in the US. It's a farm, and with his parents, with his siblings, and then he moved to Alecha. That's where he's also involved in the community. And he's quite well known as a Kirtaniya. He's often seen at the Kirtan Melas singing or playing Mridanga. But not only that, he's a wonderful devotee, worshipping the deities. That's his service these days. And also studying the scriptures. And today he will be sharing some of his insights. And the topic will be,
preparing the heart for receiving Krishna's mercy.
Okay. Preparing the heart for receiving Krishna's mercy. Thank you, Kishore Prabhu, taking the time. Hare Krishna. Just small announcement. I'll do it again after the class, but maybe you need to. Maybe you can come a little closer. Yeah, we have people coming in, and usually it's good if we have some space. Christmas is around the corner, and you might think, what can I give to my parents and friends? We have some nice prasadam cookies. They've been prepared here in the temple kitchen by our best bakers and offered to the deities. And you can find these bags outside in the shop if you like to give something uplifting to your family and friends. It's prasadam. Prasadam is uplifting the consciousness. If you know it or not, it will have an effect. And we sell them for 10 francs. So you please can have a look outside and take some.
Nera So, welcome everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. I hope that I can share something that is inspiring, encouraging, or thought-provoking. So today's discussion is around the topic of preparing our hearts for receiving Krishna's mercy. So I'll just quickly do a Mangalacharna, prayers for the blessings of the teachers and saints so that we can try to speak something. Om Gyan Timiram Dasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhuta Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityamini Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschata Devishitarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. In the beginning of spiritual life, or if we have sometimes, let's say it can be easy to have a very linear perception of what you can say spiritual progress. When we think of spiritual life as having some goal to be desired in the Vedic literature that is described in many ways, liberation from the material entanglement that is to be embodied. We understand that we are a soul embodied within this flesh, and we have a desire to not suffer in this world, to not be illusioned, to not be afflicted by all the limitations of the material energy. And so we may consider religion or spiritual life as being going from point A to point B, or point Z rather. And so we think that there is something we must achieve, something we need to do, a series of activities, a series of practices to follow, a series of rules to adopt, a series of books to read, and then we will get the desired goal. But actually we learn in the philosophy of Krishna Bhakti that actually perfection is bestowed upon us as a gift upon the deserving heart. So rather than it being an ascending process, that we simply execute a series of steps in order to achieve a goal, as is often seen in this world, right? If you want to become a CEO, if you want to become this or that, you're encouraged to go for it, put in the endeavor, step on anybody else's head who's in your way, etc., etc. Like this, we have this go-getter mentality that we are conditioned by. And we need to go, and do and be, and control our own destiny. But in bhakti, in devotion, when we're trying to approach God, we actually learn that it is a receiving process, that actually the point of everything that we're doing is so that we can receive more and more and more and more. That is actually spiritual perfection, is where we become so eligible to be put in touch with the transcendental reality, transmaterial reality, which is permeated by pure spiritual energy. That is the spiritual world. And therefore we require to have our hearts in the right place, purity, which makes us fit to receive all of the gifts that are awaiting us. So I will read this verse. This is from 10th Canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 14, text number 8. This is a famous verse for those who are familiar with Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll just read the verse just so you can get some context. Tatenukampam susamikshamano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam Evagva purvir vididan namaste Jivetayo mukti pade sadaya bhag. This is Lord Brahma speaking to Krishna. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So we'll just kind of analyze this a little bit. A key word here in the first sentence is, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you. That implies something that is out of our control, right? If we are waiting for something, that means all we can do is be in one place and like that. We are dependent because God is independent. He may give himself, he may not give himself. He may give his mercy, he may not give his mercy. That is his right because he is God. Therefore, the position of the devotee of God or the spiritual aspirant is the one who is dependent. We are waiting for him to bestow his causeless mercy. And in waiting patiently, we become qualified, because it says we become eligible for liberation by cultivating this attitude. So it is a bit counterintuitive that when we become surrendered to the will of the Lord, we actually become deserving. So there is a whole process, a journey that we have to go through in this world that starts from way back. We can't really remember where we started our spiritual journey. The teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam tell us that we are in this world because we have a desire to enjoy separately from God. We want to be independent, we want to be in control, and we want to satisfy the desires that we have. And therefore, in order to do that, we are in this world. The purpose of this world is to facilitate us that opportunity to try to be in control. Therefore, we are here. And so we go through many births trying to fulfill the desires that we have. The law of karma. Karma is not just, obviously there's action and reaction. That's a simple way to understand it. Whatever we do, there is a reaction. But also Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that also every action that we do in this world produces a samskar, means an impression. So every action that we do in the pursuance of our desires produces more desires. And that way we become entangled. Just like someone who is addicted, you take some substance and you become it's not that you take the substance and you get some enjoyment, it's that you also become attached to the feeling that it gives you, and eventually you become dependent on that feeling, and therefore you become addicted, right? So it is not such a simple thing. It's not black and white, right? Therefore we cannot stop, even if we wanted to, because something else has happened in the process of trying to fulfill that desire that we didn't anticipate. So that is what it's like in the material world. When we try to satisfy our desires, when we try to be in control of the material energy, we don't realize what's actually happening, is that we are creating more samskaras in our mind. Therefore, we have to take another birth, because we have so many desires that we couldn't even satisfy them in one lifetime. So we have to take another birth. But in that birth, in the pursuance of those desires, we're doing so many activities, and therefore, again, we're creating more karma for ourselves. So therefore, it's called the cycle of samsara, repeated birth and death. It cycles like this, and is completely generated by our own desire to enjoy. So we find ourselves in this position due to the false ego. We identify with our body, with our country, our nation, etc., etc., etc. And due to that identification, we forget our true identity as spirit. Because so long as we are in awareness that we are a spirit, we cannot really enjoy this world, because we understand the nature that this is temporary, we have that awareness. Just like if somebody makes you a cake made from a sponge, and you know it's a sponge, you won't eat it, right? You're like, no, I know this is not edible. So it's like that. When we have spiritual awareness, we can enjoy in the same way. So, therefore, ignorance is part of the package. The ignorance facilitates us to be able to enjoy without having it spoiled by too much spiritual knowledge. So, this is where we all find ourselves. And the beginning of spiritual life is when we have gone through so much suffering and disappointment in so many different ways that we finally decide, maybe this doesn't work. Maybe we just get that doubt. Not that the desires necessarily are gone, but we have that moment of clarity that something isn't right here. I'm trying to be happy, but I'm finding, sometimes I find a little bit of happiness, but it has a high cost. Just like when we pay for things, it has high tax. So when we pay like this, it's gonna hurt my bank account, right? So it's like that in this world. Every time we try to enjoy, we're paying big tax, heavy tax. So therefore, finally we become disturbed. Our bank balance is too low. Now I think, okay, I need to change my strategy. So that is the beginning of spiritual life. Then we begin to inquire. What is the truth? What is the reality? Why am I suffering? Who am I like this? At some point we all had this question, no? That is the beginning of spiritual life. And so, one thing that is important in this scenario that we didn't realize first is that actually the Lord has sanctioned us to try to enjoy independently from Him, because He is in control. He is the controller. Everything is sanctioned by His will. So even this world is sanctioned by Him. He allows us to pursue our desires. And not only that, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So when we go into another lifetime, I was just reading today something really fascinating, that when we go into another lifetime and we have all these impressions of desires, that is also sanctioned by the Lord. He allows us to remember that we had something that we desired. Very interesting. So He gives us this opportunity, but He also knows that this is not what we really want. So the purpose of this world is actually to bring us finally to that point of realizing that actually I'm not satisfied. So He is there with us from the very beginning of our journey, all the way to the completion of our journey. Every step of the way, Actually, he is sanctioning our desire to try to enjoy, but he's also uh, uh, trying to create opportunity for us to get closer to him. So when we begin our spiritual life, uh, we begin the Reformation in earnest, because it is only by spiritual practice that we can actually destroy our karma. Because we require a power that is beyond the walls, you can say, of the material. Just like someone who is in jail can be pardoned by the president or the whatever ruler of the country, etc. They have that authority, but no one else. They have the authority. They can say, okay, this person can be taken out. So similarly, we require God's mercy, Krishna's mercy, in order to be extricated from the jail of this material world. So, when we start our spiritual life, Krishna extends himself in so many ways in order to help us. There are a few different ways that are described. We'll try to go through a couple of them. One is just disappointment in and of itself, actually. Because if we never became disappointed in this world, we would have no desire for anything else. We would think, okay, things are good, things are great here. Why should I leave? I don't need to go anywhere else, right? We don't understand because we are so conditioned that we are satisfied by something very small, which is material enjoyment. So that is also Krishna's mercy. It gives us the opportunity to finally start to question this material world. Then, when we are ready to inquire, when we are ready to discover, when we're ready to go into that journey, he then gives himself in the form of his, in form of knowledge. Just like these books that we're reading. This Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be a literary form of Krishna. So he gives himself in the form of knowledge. Because by knowledge we're able to understand the nature of everything around us, understand who we are. That's called Sambandha Gyan. This is the primary, crucial step for us, that we need to understand who are we? Who are we in relation to this world? Who are we in relationship to God? Who are we in relationship to each other? Truly. So that knowledge is given, not only through literature, but also through the teachers, the saints, the Vaishnavas, the servants of God, who speak through him. So we also become, enlightened in their association by hearing their teachings, by asking questions and receiving answers. We begin to cultivate real knowledge, and our intelligence begins to be purified. Because when we're conditioned, we are quite simple, actually. We want to enjoy and we don't want to suffer. Everything's rooted in that. And so we're very one-dimensional, like horse with blinders. So when we're too much in that consciousness and someone says, hey, you're a spirit soul, it's like, oh God, just leave me alone. I just want to make my money, whatever. So when we purify our intelligence, purify our mind a little bit, we become more open to receiving knowledge. Because again, we have to be open to receiving. That's why the ninth offense to chanting the holy name is to try to instruct people who don't want to hear. Actually, we don't try to force on people who are not interested. It is a matter of reception, whether we want to hear. So, as we open our hearts a little bit more, and we become more interested to hear, just like we're all here in this room because we have some interest, whether it's a small interest or a big interest, There's some interest. Therefore, we come on a Sunday evening when we could be doing so many other things. Well, that is a sign. Something has changed. Otherwise, why would we be here? We wouldn't have any interest. So the heart becomes to be affected. We come into a spiritual atmosphere. We have the spiritual food. We hear the spiritual sound vibration. We engage in discussion with other spiritually minded people. We see the form of the Lord in so many ways. And like that, our heart becomes purified. Our mind becomes purified. Intelligence becomes purified. And so in that way, we become more open and more open. And the more open that we become, then the more Krishna starts to extend himself also. The beginning of bhakti, as described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, is association. Sadhu Sangha means associating with spiritual people. That is the beginning. That is how the spiritual spark enters into our heart. We attend a program, we meet somebody, we make a friend, or even just hearing. And in that way, it goes deeper into the heart. Now, when we develop a sincere desire to take up a spiritual practice. And we've heard, we've read a little bit, we like the people, we like the food, and eventually we feel, okay, I'm ready to try something. What, like, everybody's got those beads hanging around their neck. What is that? And we begin to chant. We start to engage in the process of devotional service. And we have a desire, even if it's a small desire, we have some desire to be engaged in spiritual life. But of course, because we still have so much conditioning, we have spent many lifetimes in this world trying to enjoy. And so as we said before, that when you try to enjoy in this world, is not simply a shallow act of, using your senses to enjoy something. There is, the tax that is paid in the form of creating tough impressions in the heart and the mind. And those don't go away so easily. So when we begin spiritual life, we realize that actually I have a desire to be spiritual. I have a desire to connect with God. But I also see that I have so many desires in my heart that are still there, that have not gone away, and they are calling to me every day. Right? In so many ways, we are tempted. There are so many distractions available. And so we are tested like that. And so we will stumble. We will stumble on the path because we're not ready to completely give up what we are attached to. And yet we are also desiring a relationship with God, with Krishna. And so that can be an awkward place to be in, especially at the beginning of our journey. And really throughout our journey, because to really purify things from a deep level takes time, it takes extensive spiritual practice. And so we are disillusioned with the world. We know that there is nothing here for us. Or at least we understand it conceptually, because we read it in the book or we heard it in the class, but we still feel attached. And so because of that, sometimes we will have to suffer a little bit. When we begin devotional service and we have a sincere desire to make progress, then Krishna will start to take us into his shelter. Now this means a few different things though. Because just like a parent sometimes is sweet with the child and sometimes has to be stern with the child. No? And the child can't always understand. He's too young to understand that he needs to learn a certain lesson. So he feels frustrated, he feels upset, he feels sad, he feels, oh, my mom, she doesn't like me, whatever, like that. So similarly, Krishna is all-knowing. He understands what is required for us to come closer to Him. But we don't necessarily understand. And also, if our relationship with Krishna is also, you could say, fresh, we don't know whether we really trust Him yet. Because also part of the conditioning of the false ego is that we also at one point wanted to be God. We wanted to have freedom to do what we like. And now we have to answer to someone. And that doesn't always feel very good. So in the beginning, we don't necessarily trust Krishna. We don't necessarily know, does he really have my best interest? Does he really care about me? Or is he just trying to punish me? We're not sure. And so when we're put through difficult situations in order for us to become purified of our material attachments, it can feel painful. Because we're not able to understand yet what is going on, why it's going on. And so we can go through different stages of either rejecting God or distancing ourselves from Krishna. We go through many different phases in our spiritual life as we try to process and understand the nature of everything that is being placed before us in our journey. But to the degree, the more that we engage with spiritual life, hearing and chanting, doing devotional service, the heart becomes purified. The heart becomes purified, and we're able to feel Krishna's presence in the heart more tangibly. When we hear about Krishna, we hear about his qualities, we hear about his nature. When we hear his pastimes, we hear about how wonderfully he deals with all of his devotees. We hear about his character. We hear about his own interests, his own desires. And in this way, we get to learn more about him. And when we do that, then also our feeling of trust in him begins to increase. So I want to read one purport that really, for me, was really transformative in this regard, in my own journey. Let me find it here. This is from 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is chapter 3, text number 17, at the end of the purport. So I'm just going to read this out. Only Krishna can deliver us from this material existence. Indeed, he is always trying to deliver us. He is within our hearts and is not at all inattentive. His only aim is to deliver us from material life. It is not that he becomes attentive to us only when we offer prayers to him. Even before we offer our prayers, he incessantly tries to deliver us. He is never lazy in regard to our deliverance. Therefore this verse says, Bhuri Karunaya Namolayaya. It is the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord that he always tries to bring us back home, back to Godhead. God is liberated, and he tries to make us liberated. But although he is constantly trying, we refuse to accept his instructions. Nonetheless, he has not become angry. Therefore, he is described here as Bhuri Karunaya, unlimitedly merciful, in delivering us from this miserable material condition of life and taking us back home, back to Godhead. So when we hear things like this, about the character and the nature of God, I know for me it was very transformative because I went through that journey of feeling, I'm going through all these difficulties, like, what's the deal? Does he not like me or something? Like, does he have a grudge against me? Like, there's so many people in the world, like, what's going on? Why are you targeting me? We feel like that, right? Yeah. But then we can understand actually what is Krishna's nature, what is Krishna's intention in the way that he puts things in front of us. And then we also understand that sometimes the things that we go through is because of us. And we want to say it's somebody else's fault, but it's actually our own. So Krishna also gives us the intelligence. He says also in Bhagavad Gita that I give the intelligence by which we come to him. So he's situated in our hearts as a super soul in the heart of everyone, and he gives us like whispers, intuitions. And so if we are reflective and introspective, as we begin to purify our mind and heart, we begin to connect to that more. And when we sit to reflect and try to understand the things in our life, then Krishna will answer. He will give us intelligence to recognize and understand how whatever it is that we experience is there in order to bring us closer to him. There was a point for me where I realized that almost everything that I was experiencing was placed on my path for the purpose of bringing me closer to God. But as we apply ourselves, then we also become more fit to receive, right? So the more that we try to commit ourselves to the path of spiritual life, we become more fit to receive knowledge, to receive help, to receive guidance, to receive empowerment. And in that way, we begin to see the world in a completely different way. Because Krishna is actually always waiting to give us to give himself, actually. He's waiting. There's a beautiful book called Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And in short, it describes the journey of one personality it describes his whole journey up to spiritual perfection, where he enters into the spiritual world, where he will remain eternally in the association of Krishna. And when he enters into that place for the first time, Krishna says to him, I've been waiting for you for so long. I've been with you throughout your whole journey, but you've been ignoring me and turning away from me again and again. But I never left you, and I've just been waiting for you. Now you're here, and I feel so happy. So this is also showing Krishna's nature, that he is always there for us. He is always waiting for us, and he's arranging things constantly to try to bring us closer to him. But as the saying goes, you can bring a horse to the water, but you cannot make them drink. So Krishna doesn't force anything on us. He simply creates opportunity. But it's also up to us to also do our part in that exchange, leaning into his into surrender. For those who are spiritually perfected or even spiritually advanced to a high level, they experience a certain type of bliss, a satisfaction, a deep happiness, because they are able to see God in everything. And because they are connected with Krishna, because they understand and they are in tune with him, then that vision of seeing him is also elicits feeling from the heart. So when, just like example is given when you look at a painting and you see, you think of the artist. Now what if also the artist is someone who you have deep love for? Then that also brings something else out. The appreciation of the artwork, but something also from the heart is touched. So similarly for the devotee who is in deep communion with Krishna, when he sees everything around him in relationship to Krishna, he's also experiencing that churning of the heart because of his love for Krishna also. So the more that we hear, the more that we serve, and we open ourselves to being known by Krishna, and we also try to know Krishna, then that creates a special relationship. Because one of Krishna's qualities is that he's able to have a complete relationship with all of us individually, where we can know him and he can know us fully and completely. He says, I'm the best friend of everyone. That is his amazing potency. For us, we can't be the best friend of everyone. Maybe a few people. After that, it's like, I'm spread too thin. I can't be best friend of everyone. But that is Krishna. He can be the best friend of everyone without losing anything. He still stays completely whole and perfect. And so that journey for us is discovering that relationship. And the more that we engage with our journey, the more all of these things become revealed to us. And by hearing, we become attracted. When we hear about Krishna's qualities, his activities, we become interested in him. Because it's a relationship of love, actually. Because Krishna is a person. So, it is not just following a certain rules, adopting a practice. It is actually a relationship that is being cultivated. And so, it is the personal touch that we add to everything that we do that Krishna becomes interested by and becomes attracted to. But even when we do something just because we think it's the right thing to do, he still takes that into account. That is his quality, because he is just so eager to have a relationship with us. But as we go forward and it becomes more personal, and everything that we do becomes more imbued with whatever affection we have growing in the heart for him, then he also becomes more and more interested and extends himself more into a more personal relationship. And that is when spiritual life really becomes amazing. Because it is no longer that I'm doing this for God because it's the right thing to do. But it becomes so much more dynamic, so much more deep, and so much more multifaceted, that even we can do the same simple activity as sweeping a floor. But because of the consciousness that we have, because of what is existing and going on in the heart, then that experience becomes completely different. And Krishna can meet us in that experience in something even as simple as sweeping a floor. And so this process becomes alive. The spiritual journey becomes alive. It becomes, 3D, for lack of a better word, two-dimensional. It is not flat, that I do this because I'm supposed to, and God is there and he's looking at me, so I need to do the right thing. It becomes much more, I don't know what the right word is. And so, when we become humbled by the things that we have to experience in this world, when we become soft-hearted, we become compassionate, we become kind, we become respectful, in all these ways, just like the diamonds, they become smooth by crashing against each other. So sometimes it's like that we're kind of like by the world. But if we stay connected and we try to see where it is that Krishna is trying to teach us something, eventually we start to become smoothed. And when we do that, then we become more fit, and more fit, because Krishna becomes attracted. Because the more that our heart becomes softer, then the devotion that we are cultivating for God becomes more beautifully expressed. And the more that we do that, the more he becomes attracted. Because he is interested in devotion, the bhakti. That is what he is attracted to, most of all. So as we become more, we become like resting places for all of these qualities, then he becomes very, very interested in us. And so in this way we become recipients of the greatest gift that can be bestowed, which is pure love of God. Because Krishna will become so attracted that he will desire us to be in his association. Because he's also reciprocating with our desire. When we have a strong desire to be connected to Krishna, then he reciprocates accordingly. And that is the ultimate expression of that. So we desire so much, and finally we can be received. So we can understand over time with reflection, as our hearts become softer, our minds and intelligence become purified, we become more introspective, we engage in spiritual life in all different ways. We begin to recognize all of the doorways that are being opened, all of the opportunities that are placed before us, and all of the whispers that have been there from the very beginning of Krishna, constantly trying to invite us into a relationship with him. And so in this way, our whole journey is trying to make ourselves fit to receive the gifts that Krishna is waiting to give us, actually. He wants to give it, but we need to be ready. Just like if you want to be in a relationship, it's like you have to try to work on your things, healing, all these type of things we think about in relationship to each other, right? We're very sometimes demanding, I don't want to be with someone who hasn't healed their trauma. If you want to be with me, you better heal the trauma. But in relationship to God, to speak of relationship to God, we have so much envy of God and so many things. So how can he have a relationship with us? But of course, God's supremacy is that he will always love us unconditionally. That we cannot do. We don't have that capacity. But God does. He's willing to wait for us for millions and millions of lifetimes. He's constantly trying to help us. But he also cannot force anything on us. So therefore, it's a beautiful journey of relationship, actually, where we try to connect to him, and he's trying to connect to us. And finally, that is realized in a perfect way when we attain pure love of Krishna, and we're able to have unite with him in a relationship that is everlasting. So, I think that we'll stop there. See if there's any reflections or questions or anything like that. Yeah. Okay.
Anyone would like to?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You gave